Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, and I'm joined by Kyle Fergusson, who I hear has undergone one of the largest reworks of his lifetime.
That's a good way to put it, man. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, Kyle Fergusson has been patched. He now has a spawn. He's
yeah.
Yeah, you are now, you could call yourself an ad-based hero.
I think my health pool damage numbers have remained about the same, but some new heroics, some new level 20s. Not really sure what's optimized yet, getting there, but we'll find a good build soon.
I feel like your movement speed has probably been nerfed.
Yes.
I
think that's fair.
I heard that they really nerfed your sleep hours, and that has had a bit of a knockdown effect on your movement speed.
Right. I can regenerate another's health at the cost of my own sleep.
Oh, okay. So you're a support now, or would you say you're utility?
Oh my goodness! You know what? How cool would that be?
Are you a healer? Well, actually, under the new class system, are you a support or are you a healer, Kyle?
I'd like to think I'm a healer. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I ain't got time to mess up the draft right now. It's busy out there. We got Kristen main tank, and she needs some support to keep those heals rolling, keep that food going, and the house clean. And I am doing an awesome job. I will toot my own horn. I'm really proud of myself, having a great time with it, really enjoying it. And thank you to everyone in this community, the Frog Pants community. It has been so ridiculously cool to see so many dads come out of the woodwork and congratulate me, just, give their energy this way. It's been an awesome experience, and I'm enjoying it. Now, my side thought here, though, is what if Malfurion had a sleep trance where he became a global healer?
He had a sleep, so he basically enters the Emerald Dream?
Yeah, exactly. At level 20, you enter the Emerald Dream. You crawl up inside the core and take a nap, and you can cast your spells globally.
I want Brightwing to do that. Screw Malfurion. He doesn't get to do that. Let's let Brightwing do that.
I mean, she's of that faction. Okay, I feel you.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't like Malfurion. Is really what it boils down to, Kyle. Not a fan. But dude, I'm so stoked. I'm so stoked that you're dad now. You're dad. You and Kristen, you guys got a family, like a legit family. Not like I have a family, like way too many animals. You got a kid now, which is just insane. What's more insane is that you're on the show this week.
Yeah, well, I'm still loving the game, still getting to play it and having a good time. Putting in my hours in other places, trading times, as it were. But still here, still rocking it. And for anyone who's, like me when I was 20, it's cool. We're cool. We're cool here. This isn't Dadcast. We're gonna talk about heroes. Nothing. I haven't changed. I am me. The show will continue to be a hero show. No worries.
So basically what you're saying is the entire audience of Into the Nexus is your firstborn, and they're all feeling a little nervous that the newborn might be getting a little bit more of the attention.
Right. I mean, I had a guy shake my hand at my high school graduation and say, "Congratulations, there goes the best years of your life." Now, granted, this guy was wearing a giant cowboy hat and had a class ring on from his high school football team. But that was about the most frightening thing that ever happened to me in my life.
What an excruciatingly depressing thing to say to anybody.
Right, particularly a nerd coming out of high school. I mean, you are just like, thank goodness that's over. I can't wait to go to college where at least I choose my classes. I change classes all the time. I don't have to deal with the same people picking on me and whatnot. And this guy tells me that's the best years of my life. Holy moly. So you know what? I've got a lot of perspective going in.
Yeah.
And
by the way, college infinitely better than high school. Not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close. I don't care about. Yeah, there's the whole debt thing, right? But beyond, other than that, I will gladly pay to not be in high school anymore. It was wonderful.
Experiences.
Yes. Well, nonetheless, dude, congratulations. We're all stoked for you. And glad you're back on the show. Missed you last week. Had a good good time holding down the fort with Not Paradox.
You did. That was a great episode. I learned a lot. I reinforced a lot of ideas that were enjoyable, like how I've been playing Rhaegar. I was like, all right, I did it. And it was cool to hear the passion for Whitemane come out, because we're not going to represent that very well today, because it's just a passionate community. And I think Not Paradox said it best, said it well, really summed up how it feels when one of your mains gets tooled around with and changes on you. And Junkrat, you know, he had one build, so I hope he got build diversity out of this, but I haven't been seeing it. Looks like Junkrats have found one build.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, how many heroes, when we're talking in a generalization, have more than one build?
No, it's true.
Like, truly.
Right, and when we're thinking about drafting, right, like, there are places where you get to say Sindragosa Arthas, and I have become the solo laner. My main tank is so main tanky that we don't need me to perform that duty anymore, and Calais, we all get to be crazy Arthas for a game. And it's not a build, it was a series of choices along the way. So I agree, there's sort of a main street you walk down, and sometimes you go down a little alley.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at. I mean, like, you know, think about some of the top meta heroes right now. You know, Rexar, basically one way to build them. Yeah, Alarak, we're all pretty much building Alarak the same way. Rhaegar, not getting too creative there with our Rhaegar builds.
No, and I hear the question a lot, how do I keep my mana up on Rhaegar? And that's the reason there's one build. It's lightning build. Otherwise, you have serious mana issues. And some, like, if you're doing, like, triple, quadruple frontline, you can go healing totem and then hearth out, because, you know, you're so regen-y and so healthy. People aren't going to miss you too much. But if you're doing the Rhaegar thing with the back lines, I need the heals every 5 seconds, and, you know, you're going to have to hold the fort.
Yeah, or the door, one might say.
One could.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. It's an interesting thought, but I think what I really liked Paradox's comments about Whitemane last week, because it's really, to be frank, it's the most critical I think I've ever really heard Paradox be. Which isn't to say like he was angry or shouting or anything of that nature, which would just disturb me, because I can't even imagine Paradox being mad. But you know, he was very critical. He was very honest about his thoughts regarding Whitemane, and he's clearly not alone. It's all the subreddit really wants to talk about.
Yeah,
there's it hasn't gone away. The conversation surrounding Whitemane that kind of dominated the community while she was on the PTR last week, it's still here. It's still here, and it hasn't gone away. But overall, I feel like the conversations I've been seeing had around Whitemane are pretty level-headed. There's obviously some exceptions to that rule. But, you know, as I've been poking my head into the subreddit, I've liked the conversations I've been seeing. There's a lot of people having serious, you know, adult conversations and not just calling it shit and yelling at the game.
Totally. And I think that's because there was a expertise to playing Whitemane that for many of us probably feels like your quick match midnight Genji kind of run. Like, I've been overtaken by some sort of spirit. I'm going to play Genji today. I'm not a Genji main. I don't, you know, do Tracer Hanzo all the time, but sometimes I just kind of get the itch to play some Genji. And when I win, I go, oh, hey, all right. That was pretty fun. And when I lose, I go, I have no idea what happened there. And oh, well. And that's how my Whitemane experience has been for a long time. Just, you either absolutely wreck it and there's something to auto attack and damage, or you got nothing and you feel completely zoned out. And it's sad to see that they reinforce that play style. I think when Not Paradox said juggling all those plates at once, that really, really summed it up. And I feel like we're getting to see the new quests, the new pet project, these auto attack talents and auto attack heroes that have infatuated the team over at Blizzard. I
think I mentioned it last week. It reminds me of the quest obsession.
Yeah.
Of when we started getting just quests out the wazoo. And I also, like, you know, this is again just based off of my own history with the game and the trends of how Heroes of the Storm is adjusted and altered over its entire history, it almost feels like this is the pendulum swinging in the other direction, because a lot of the critiques, especially from us about Quest, were we don't like it when a quest is asking you to play the game in a wrong way. When it's asking you to play inefficiently, to use abilities when you shouldn't be using those abilities because you're trying to stack or you're trying to quest, whatever it might be. And so to me, I'm looking at this new focus on auto attacking, and I'm thinking, well, did the team kind of look at those critiques and go, all right, well, you want your healers to auto attack, you want them to bring more to the fight, well, we're going to force them to.
And that's what's so interesting about it. While it may be a homogenization of how you get more value, we are limited on resources in Heroes of the Storm. Without golden items, there's just not a lot of places you can take optimization outside of making sure you get in your auto attacks, you do some stutter stepping, and you cast on cooldown and all that sort of mana management sort of business. What I find fascinating about it is that's the way you climb. If you are a Lily main in silver, auto attacking, it will take you to plat. And there are a lot of times where I see, you know, let's say it's kind of an odd lane, but, you know, they happen in lower leagues. You see Johanna versus Nazeebo in lane. And Nazeebo versus Johanna is just working on that quest. You know, maybe you're shooting some nice toads, Johanna soaks them, and you go, hey, thank you for the stacks. But mostly you're focused on that lane. Turn your auto attacks and just auto attack Johanna. It's stupid that, you know, your little bolts flying out of your skull are damaging the heck, and she only has cooldowns. You know, maybe pops her Laws of Hope, but even so, like, these auto attacks are going to wear her down, and you will seriously overwin that lane. So did they do this because we want ways to represent our climbing ability? Did the team basically say, well, you know, auto attacks are the best way to increase your impact on the game, and now there is a build for you, good sir, that you can unleash yourself upon the enemy team and rocket your way up, because you will have so many stacks, so much value over your opponents and your allies.
Yep, maybe, but it also, like, I think a lot of the frustration comes from the fact that the messaging has been, oh, we're trying to get away from one build, and we've just removed one build Whitemane and added a new one build Whitemane, essentially. But I have to have, you know, I would like to interject some sympathy here for just game design in general, especially when it comes to something like this, something, you know, a talent-based game. That's the never-ending challenge. We as players are always going to find the most efficient course to take. Like, we are constantly at war with fun and individuality with a talent system. So I have to, I don't know. Like, I look at this and I go, I think this was them kind of going for it, saying, oh, let's just see. Let's just put this out there, see what the community does with it. And oh, damn it, they've landed on one damn build again.
Yeah.
That's kind of where my head is at. Like, I don't know. I kind of feel for him, I guess is what I'm saying. Because this seems to be a hero they just can't win with. It's a hero that's really stumping them.
And it's tough. They made a hero that really only heals when in combat, and that is tough to pull off. In particular, when the thing that you'll be auto-attacking or damaging so often is that Garrosh running straight towards you, Whitemane, and then you go on the journey of your life and to your death. And that was your impact.
Right, and like, what's the counter argument to that? Oh, well, you should have spec'd a different way. Well, now I don't have mana, and I would have been better off as any other support.
Right, maybe you should have drafted the support at a different place. But if we're taking what Not Paradox said, which is absolutely correct, about the solo lane being the last draft pick, then we've already moved up the support, which might be a counter pick to the type of enemy team we're facing or the type of team we have. So we've moved that up. We got to get a tank in there somewhere. And that's usually squeezed into the later picks in lower leagues. So you're sort of advancing up, and your support main is a support main. So they already know early on that they're going to support. So they show early, and we sort of just move them up the draft tier. And now we're having some draft issues with support diversity.
Yeah, well, the support is also typically like one of the safer picks. You know, not one of the more heavily countered roles in the game. And yet here's Whitemane, who has to stand still and deliver to heal. And so suddenly any of these engage heroes are going to heavily punish her. And, you know, you mentioned Garrosh, but Stitches is all over the place. It's equally as dangerous. I mean, hell, Diablo. Especially, my God, if you're around any objective that has a wall, Lord have mercy on your soul, you poor Whitemane staring down that Diablo as you're trying to get healing done. It's just, I don't know, it's just very interesting. Like I said, I don't really have much to add other than it's got to be a challenge. We're gonna come back around to this when we get to blue responses, because they're not being quiet. They're letting us know that they're in here. They're reading the replies. They're aware of it. I do not think this is the Whitemane we're going to be stuck with.
It will be interesting, though, if we enter that sphere of expertise where everybody's auto-attacking and there is constant pressure, and not in the burst environment, right? Because that's just everyone blows up, fights over in 2 seconds. Did you have fun? I'm not really sure. This game does sit between the, if you will, the StarCraft and the Total War sort of sphere. StarCraft, everything's a meat grinder. Armies come together and just it turns into chunks. And Total War, the armies slam together and you sit there for half an hour going, am I winning? What's happening? And you got to find that place where things are slow enough for you to fathom. Something interesting is like Stitches Cannibalize, Talon at 7, basic attacks against heroes, regen 2% of his max health. The number of times I've been able to out-tank the enemy DPS because Muradin is in melee range, and that's the only reason. Like, they're sure my is it really called Essence Devourer? What the heck? That's such a made-up name. Okay, well, Essence Devourer is apparently the name of the ability. When Devour hits a hero, okay, they call it Devour in Talons. Okay, cool. Devour makes more sense. Anyway, the number of times someone's been in melee that has allowed Stitches to survive instead of kiting him and not touching me in melee, does this enter us into a new world where we're all paying attention to what an auto attack's doing and how it interacts and what the effect it had on it? And that could be really cool, and we could find a very new style of play.
Yeah. Yeah. Although it's also like you mentioned not burst, but it's like if everyone's landing auto attacks and you have a burst comp, that just makes it all the more lethal, right? More likely to actually secure kills. So I don't know. It'd be interesting. I mean, I think no matter how much they push auto attacking, it's still going to be something that you notice at different skill gaps. You know, as you climb the ladder, you're going to notice that the efficiency, that the care taken to land those auto attacks is still going to be something that's going to be divided up across league lines. So let's not get carried away with ourselves is what I'm saying.
Well, I'll tell you a couple other things I noticed in my absence. The Sky Temple update with the cloudy days over on the desert is good. I'm a little sad we didn't go for Garden Terror, though.
Because for Garden Terror?
Yeah, man. Like, because I'm thinking of Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark. And like whenever Temple Phase activates, the clouds move in. And as the laser shoots across the ground, it lights up the area a little bit.
Okay. Oh yes. No, now I'm getting you. So you wanted a more drastic effect when the temples actually activate.
Yeah. Well, that's when you fall for KT stuff anyways, because you're on the paths, but then there's all the circles on the ground and the minions are in the area. Like, if you really had a hard time seeing in lane flame strikes, I never struggled with it, but I don't have color blindness.
That's a cool idea. It's funny. We spent a lot of time talking about it last week, but I got my first Sky Temple game today, and I didn't even notice. I didn't even think anything of it. I don't know. It didn't even affect my brain. But now I think of it, I'm like, yeah, I guess it's a little bluer.
Yeah,
but I didn't think it was that drastic. Folks talking about it on like the subreddit and whatnot made it seem really, really drastic. But to me, it didn't seem like that big of a difference.
No, and you probably won't notice when you're controlling a character. If you jump in a custom game and you're there to look at the map and not bolts flying at you, you'll see it.
But I'm down with your idea. I don't want to discount your idea. Now that I understand what you were saying, I like that quite a bit. That the moment in the game where you need to be paying the most attention to your feet, that let's go ahead and have a tone shift.
Yeah.
Also, it'd be cool if it happened map wide, because then it's just one more indicator, if you're not paying attention, that something's happening on the temple.
Right. And plus, when you load up into it, he's like, "You're mine now," and like, oh, like let's theme that. Let's get that really, really crunchy in there, and just like, ooh, he's evil, and the temples are active.
Well, now I just want to go to California and ride the Indiana Jones ride that we don't have in Florida.
Well, have you been there recently?
To Disneyland?
Yeah.
No.
They turned off the fire.
They turned off the fire in the Indiana Jones ride?
Yeah, man. I mean, I know that's like butane or propane or whatever, but they're cutting costs in the Indiana Jones ride.
Oh.
And without the fire bursts, it just ain't the same.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest parts of the damn ride.
Right? Yeah, but you come around the corner and the snake's there. He's like, yeah, but no fire. And you can feel the warmth on your face, like it's an experience.
It's a real Temple of Doom vibe, man.
Yeah.
It's like, it makes you like, I'm just ready to cover my heart. Well, all right. Well, let's if we're losing fire in the Indiana Jones ride, maybe we can bring some fire into Sky Temple and really, really just amp it up.
There we go. Done. That's all I'm asking.
Make it dark. Give us fire. Just make it Indiana Jones as hell. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. So yeah, there were some other things kind of off the beaten path. Halloween event is here. What do you think of those new skins? You weren't here last week to talk about it.
They're good. The hammers are hammering, and they're not great at it, but
I firmly believe that hammer players are the meanest people that play this game.
Well, yes.
I have met so many bad attitude hammers this week. It is ridiculous. And this week there's just more of them. But like, seriously, all year, anytime I end up in like a quick match with a hammer, they have the worst attitudes. I'm doing hammers, it. Yes. I am casting aspersions. If you play hammer, I assume you're a mean person.
The hammers I meet in ranked are very much along the lines of Medivh. They want you to believe in the Medivh, and they're about to wow you as long as you make a couple of adjustments to your play, such as riding the portals, in this case, protecting the hammer. But you do those minor things, it's okay. But quick match hammers, they realize that if everyone plays 100% correctly, they're going to have the easiest game of their life. And you are ruining their entire childhood by not zoning for them or not fighting in the circle or whatever it is you might do wrong.
Well, I mean, I love fighting in the circle, but it's not always an option.
No.
Bring it on. No, that's my favorite place to fight when I have a hammer. Yeah. It's the best thing. It's the best. I've been actually kind of abusing it a little bit with the Zool. I've been slamming a lot of Zool games because it's Halloween event is here, Kyle. So you got to get in the mood, which for me means I am only playing goth heroes. If you're either base, like you're just goth as hell, like Orphea is a good example of this, just out of the box, goth is all get out. She clearly only shops at Hot Topic. Or you have to have a skin, that really sets it up. But I've been back on Zool this week, something fierce, and boy, I forgot how much I like that hero, man. It's wonderful. And actually, you want to talk about having two different builds, and some people get mad at you when you go skeletons, but that's my favorite build in the world. That's my way. If I want to have fun, I'm going Zool. I'm taking all the skeleton talents, and you're just not going to have a keep. If you blink, if you don't keep an eye on whatever lane I'm in, it's over. You're done. I'm pushing the core. But I love that I can go into a game planning. It's like, all right, if this goes smoothly, if we have the comp for it, I'm going to relax and go skeletons, but take a look at the comp, take a look at the map we're on. Suddenly, I have to, go the try-hard build. Spec into my scythe, spec into my sweeping attack. That's what I like about Zool. But I've been having a good time. Really working for me. I don't know if this is a hero I'll ever really want to take into draft environment, but I forgot how much I like him. Also, everybody, go unlock your Halloween emojis. They're some of the best ones in the game. I want to see bloody-handed GLHFs at the beginning of every single game, and I want to see pumpkin GGs at the end of every game.
That's a good point. We all need to retheme. There's always one or two heroes, usually a support like Malfurion that ends up in a Christmas skin all the way into July because I just don't play him very often.
Yeah, that tends to happen. Whereas Kyle, I never stop using my Halloween items. Like, my favorite spray in the entire game is the Rip tombstone with the animated thumb coming up out of the ground. That's my favorite one. It's on basically all my heroes. I've used it all year long, and now I've realized I've come back around to the next Halloween event, and I'm still using it. So, I mean, I give you a pumpkin GG at the end of every damn game.
That's true. I can attest to this fact.
And now here I am at the precipice of Halloween, and now I actually feel less special because I think everyone's just going to assume, oh, he's just in the spirit. I'm like, you don't understand.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Halloween is not a day for me. It is a way of life. Anyways, there's already Christmas decorations up in our Lowe's. It has already bumped the Halloween stuff, and we're still in September. I'm a little grouchy on the subject of Halloween.
I'm thinking here hard in the background about Zool, and he does have, while blue build is probably where his drafted environment lies the strongest.
100%. You play him essentially like a bruiser at that point.
Right. And he is now classified as a bruiser, but he's got a scythe build. He's got the blue build. He's got the skeleton build. He's kind of an old thought philosophy that we've lost track of, even something we may have accused the team of, which is pick which ability do you like best and put all your points into that one thing. And it got a little tiresome at times. I particularly think of something like Greymane Cocktail build in the past. But it did lead to a lot of build diversity. And Mephisto is probably the most recent hero that has that factor, that which of these spells do you like best and how do you want to win the game with it?
I mean, Ragnaros has that too.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. He was after Zool by quite a bit.
Yeah. There's still quite a few heroes like that, and I didn't land on this, but I think I'm with you. I think I prefer that route.
Yeah.
If
it's interesting when we combine that with the way we're talking about Anduin right now, in particular, not Paradox's comment about him needing to auto attack, therefore Leap of Faith is never in a good position. That's fascinating. That is wild. What an observation that is. And I'm curious how we can adjust that sort of thing.
Yeah, not too sure. So anyways, before we get too deep into it, dude, I also want to thank our patrons for supporting us over at patreon.com/ITN. If you like the show, if you like what we're doing and you want to support us, that's the best way to do so. We have some newer patrons to thank. We thank you in the order that you signed up, and we usually do about 3 an episode, so we're working our way down the list. But thank you to Nate, no last name given, Brad, no last name given, and Brian H. Only one last initial this week, Kyle.
All right. Is that your classifier?
It's like a John, and they don't give me a last name. I'm just like, well, I hope you know who you are, John. Thank you.
Oh, that's true. That's true. We want to make sure we're thanking the right person. We wouldn't want some, Nate out there to be like, oh, me? Well, I mean, I didn't do anything, but you're welcome. No. This is for you, Nate.
For patron Nate.
Patron Nate.
And patron Brad. And so check it out, patreon.com/ITN. It's the best way to support the show, to support Kyle, to support myself. You get awesome perks like getting to join us for after show games when we do the Patron Bonanza once a month. You get access to the Discord, plus some other rad stuff. So go check it out, patreon.com/ITN. And also, Kyle, I wanted to give you just a real quick little unscripted update on Hot Slogs.
Yes.
It's been a lot of work. As the post that went up on the subreddit mentioned, we basically had no data to start with, which really just break the site. Like, the site just doesn't work without data, and we also didn't have user profiles for the same reason that we didn't have the data. And the way the site functions, it's really important that it has a functional profile system. So that has officially been rebuilt. We've got a new programmer with us, a volunteer, goes by Jagged Pixel in the chat room. You usually will probably see him around. Real name Jeremy. Great guy. Has basically single-handedly been fixing the site. Got in there, started poking around when Daryl, our other programmer, got busy, had to deal with some other things, and has just been killing it. Oh, and in the chat room right now. Shout out to Jagged Pixel. Everybody give him a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Because it's been pretty crazy. And the biggest development this week is that we have gotten statistics back up and running. That doesn't mean we're going to turn the lights on just yet, because it's really important for us that the talent 0 bug is fixed first.
Sure.
So we're going to take a look at that, and we're also at the same time looking at Heroes API or HOTS API integration. So there's still some things to do before the lights come back on, but the strides that Jeremy and Daryl have been making in just the last 2 weeks have been absolutely insane. It's really exciting. So
I am super happy to hear that, man. That's really cool. I know that some other data sites have been down as well. So I'm so excited to have HOTS logs back, get to looking at that data, seeing those win rates, seeing where Whitemane, Junkrat, but you're making the smart choice, of course. We aim to fix the site, and we're going to deliver it fully functional.
Yes. Yeah. The base goal is to at least return it in its previously functioning state. Which, considering how long that Talent 0 bug was around, that would be a huge win for us. So,
I agree.
I'm excited. Anyways, dude, let's actually move into proper segments and talk about this week's Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Ha ha! Let's liven up this place!
Point me to the stage.
Stay a while and listen.
So the patch is live is the big thing. We already talked about the Halloween event. We had quite a good deal of discussion about Whitemane, but let's come back around to Whitemane real quick because certain things were adjusted from the PTR, which seemed to have doubled down on the efficiency of the auto attack build for Whitemane, because her attacks per second on her auto attack are slightly faster than they were on the PTR. On the PTR, it was like an attack every 1.18 second. Now it's an even 1 second. One attack per second, even. So a slightly faster attack speed. So the auto attack build has definitely come out on top. And as we mentioned, a lot of players not stoked about this change. A lot of blue responses about Whitemane. Daybringer getting in once again and saying, "Hey, as I mentioned last week, this is on our radar. We're keeping an eye on it." Was basically it. They want to give, in Daybringer's words, the rework some time to sink in.
Interesting.
That seemed like a loaded interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. Because we've had those moments in the game where two Nazebos choose to ignore each other and farm. And the idea that two Whitemanes would just choose to farm on each other while participating in a fight some distance away is bizarre.
Oh, you know what? Chat room's right. Yeah, the copying and pasting isn't helpful, Apocalypse. I actually just misunderstood it. So if attacks per second went from 1.18 to 1, all right, that's essentially, I interpreted that backwards. So it's actually auto attacks are slower than they were on PTR.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I've read that backwards. Doesn't matter. Auto attack build's still on top.
Sure. They did go in, and yes, because they're now you're going over the 1 second mark with those additional numbers. It's still pretty good. And getting that range feels really important for what you need to do. Maybe now they did go back in and they return Searing Lash's damage. It doesn't do anything till I get roots visually. So how can I feel impactful? And that's where I'm struggling on Whitemane as a purely for fun kind of thing. What am I contributing? Polymorph, roots from Malfurion. You got stuns from Uther. The further you go back, the more sort of obvious and big these CCs get. What am I accomplishing with Whitemane that makes me feel that hit in the moment?
I don't know. I haven't really said anything because I don't have anything positive to add. I don't like her at all, and I don't want to play her after this rework. So I got nothing because I'm with you. I don't think she's fun to play at all.
Yeah.
I think she's really boring. It's like somehow they made a more boring Morales.
Interesting.
Yeah, just kind of bumps me out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. I would like this entire thing just to be thrown out and redone. But yeah, that's really it on Whitemane. I mean, I think we kind of covered all that already. So let's just move on to.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's being hard on it. If you weren't a Whitemane main, you want to join in the conversation because it'd be really fun to have a new hero that you weren't personally interested in before. And that's what the Chromie rework did for me. Chromies were upset, but I looked at Chromie and said, oh, how cool. Like, what a fun bunch of tools that I get to play with now that is so different from anything else I've got on the roster.
Well, you made a good point there. Like who is this a success for, right? Because like, at least in the Chromie, yeah, if your diehards are kind of miffed because the hero's completely different now, but players that didn't play Chromie before are happy, at least there's some success here. But here, the vibe I'm getting is that no one new it wants to come and try Whitemane, and that Whitemane diehards feel betrayed.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a miss for sure for me. Junkrat, on the other hand, seems to be a wild success. I've had some really great games with Junkrats on my team this week. I've had some tough games against Junkrats. They really seem to just be slotting in to this rework really well.
And I'm very happy about that. There are few mages when you get through the draft. You know, if you're going to ban out Kael'thas and then Jaina, you're kind of into personal pick land. You're looking at things like Orphea, Kel'Thuzad, Gul'dan, and I'm glad that Junkrat, with a really good auto attack still, is another option there.
I was also kind of expecting some bad games with Junkrats because he got a really cool new skin, and I just assume anytime a new cool skin gets added, people that have never played the hero before jump on them. And
I think the immediate disappointment keeps people away.
Immediate disappointment?
Right. So with Hammer, you know, you're boo, boo, you know, you're shooting your auto attacks and you feel good about it in lane. But you walk into lane and you miss your first Q, and then you fire wildly another direction, and then you miss your third Q, and you just go, oh my God, I hate this hero. There's very little experimentation.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Also, you've made a good point, and something I haven't thought about in a while, but I think Hammer may have the most satisfying auto attack land in the game. When you're in siege mode, and that auto attack.
Oh, you know who also kind of has this factor is Mephisto. You lose one Mephisto game, and you're just like, who is this kit for? What the hell is all this? I'm out. And it takes a lot of work. You know, Kael'thas, Jaina, even Orphea, you hit something good and you go, first game.
Yeah, I got you there. That's a good point. That's a fair point, but also never underestimate the power of a Joker skin, Kyle. You give Junkrat a purple suit, looks like the Joker. We're all going to get in there and want to be the Joker with a grenade launcher. Who doesn't?
That's true.
Who doesn't?
Very true.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying it, even though I just decided to just make this Zul week for myself. The matchmaking update, by the way, Kyle, also went live, or almost went live, if we're looking at blue responses from the past week. But it didn't. Daybringer once again getting in and saying that they were not able to make these configuration changes today like they had hoped. That they are running additional simulations, and they're also going to have a meeting the day of this comment to talk about the best way to go about this, and continuing saying, quote, matchmaking is a very tricky thing, and we want to make sure we have enough confidence in the changes before we push them live, and that to keep our eyes peeled for more information very soon. I think if we get away from Whitemane, I think this is the number one biggest concern for the Heroes community right now.
Right. Not that this would be a magical fix-all. The text, as it said in the patch notes this week, was changed matchmaking configurations to lower wait times for most players while tightening rules for masters. I mean, kiss babies and, you know, that's a wonderful political statement.
It's vague. It's vague. It's just like, here's a vague sense of your requests being addressed.
And a puppy for everyone.
Really, is like, I don't want this to just be like the let's be critical on Heroes Day, but frankly, dude, like here in our little bubble of the community on Into the Nexus, Yeah, we're hearing from some folks about Whitemane. You know, our listeners are concerned, but most of the concerned comments, emails, and whatnot that are coming into the Nexus are about the still weird, massive chunks of point movement in Storm League. You know, just that's what we're seeing more than anything else. And I am still surprised we haven't really seen them talk about that. And I'm wondering, is it just us? Is this just our little corner of the community are the only ones having this issue? Is it not as wide reaching as we think?
I think so a little bit, because we're in the core of the season now. Our listeners enjoy the game regardless of events and updates, and they want to know how to climb and improve. And I think that's a 100% natural thing to do. We all want to get better at the things we enjoy. It feels good. I also think a lot of this heavy critique is because BlizzCon's on the way. This is basically Blizzard election season. We are leading up to the talks they make now, the community roundtables they have. We're all leading to their big speech at BlizzCon.
So Whitemane this is their gaffe? This is their gaffe before the final debate?
And it's one of those where they caught them, picking their nose on stage, and everyone's zooming in and making gifs of Whitemane picking their nose. And, is this BlizzCon material? Is this what players want leading their presentation? And that's fair. It is fair to be a little nervous. Are we going to have words fly at us this year in their video? What are those words going to say? Are they going to say clans and esports? Probably not. I would assume things are held back, but a lot is riding on this.
Well, Kyle, you didn't talk about your tinfoil hat theory.
Oh yeah, that Diablo is now a classic game.
That Grubby is streaming Heroes again.
Well, that's an even better one, right? Yeah, so what was it? Last year, Grubby, whispers on the wind, in my opinion, tinfoil hat, was told that Warcraft 3 Reforged is on its way and will be here soon. So he's like, awesome. I'm a 100% Warcraft 3 streamer now. I'm going to go where the wave goes. This is also slightly ignoring that he is a huge, passionate Warcraft 3 player. It's where he got his start in esports, and he's amazing at it. So of course he jumped on that bandwagon. He didn't even jump. He was the conductor that was driving the bandwagon. It's his train, and he owns it. But he was streaming Heroes. So what whispers on the wind did he hear that made him reinvest into Heroes recently?
Don't get our hopes up, Kyle.
I've been on a roller coaster with video games this year, Garrett. I'm done protecting myself. I got excited about a lot of games in 2019, and I'm playing Fallout 3 right now. Like that's life. And I'm just, at this point, you can't hurt me anymore, man. Don't just kick me while I'm down. It's fine. I'm just waiting for a good RPG.
Well, Cyberpunk will get here eventually.
Hopefully that all works out.
Yeah. Anyways, away from your tinfoil hat theories, and real quick back to the blue comments. Purifier Beam update was brought up once again, and Naaman got in and said expect it in the next balance patch, which if we're going on assumptions here on how quickly they've been putting out new patches, probably going to be in like 3 weeks.
Right, and that's his words. In about 3 weeks, which is interesting because that should just be I've done custom maps. You go in there and you go boop, 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 and the numbers and they change. So this is a show of the cadence, in my opinion. This is them saying even if balance might suffer in the meantime, we are collecting data and we want to make the best balance available to you. But we also know, like we did with the Junkrat Whitemane skins with a rework, that when we pile this stuff together, it's what brings people back. And if you randomly show up on a Wednesday night and like, by the way, Purifier Beam, now moving faster, no one bats an eye. We're not going to have articles rolling around the interwebs. So let's store up our balance a little bit. Maybe the game suffers slightly, but we have a more exciting release. People return to the game and so on.
Well, I think there's there's something to be gained in expectation.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't focus too much on the quote unquote suffering that you're mentioning, because if we know that it's essentially like these 3 week wait periods between patches, that's okay as long as they stick to it, that they're hitting those marks, that we know it's coming. Because what's the other side of that coin? Is it an adjustment every single week? That's probably too often. We all feel vindicated. I think we're feeling more vindicated right now than usual because a lot of us got on the horn because we took a look at the PTR and we said, "Oh, this Whitemane change is bad," and it goes live, and we're like, "See, it is bad." We were vindicated in that, but that's not always the case. That being said, like, I'm sure the team wants actual statistics, and there's not really anyone in the PTR anymore. There's some, you've got not Paradox and folks like him and us, doing customs, and that's really about it. I mean, the PTR was always a low population, and now it's extremely so. So, I don't know. Again, I kind of get it, and the discussion around it, I think, is always going to, we're always going to be more weighted towards what didn't work versus what did, because we've got 2 reworks here, and one of them is a success, and one of them isn't. And what are we going to do with Junkrat? We can't get down to the nitty gritty and talk about what works, because we already did. We did when we talked about the patch changes. We went through it. This is how they're changing him, and it's a success. But you get into Whitemane, you get into why it doesn't work, and suddenly there's a lot to chew on there. There's a conversation to be had. So it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. So
yeah, and I'm all for it, because to me, you go through and you update Purifier Beam plus Ravenous Spirit plus who knows what else. And now you've got a meta shift, rather than just Artanis now has a new toy to play with in X number of games where that toy is going to be important. Like, let's shake up the game whenever we can and keep that interesting.
Yes. Anyways, let's switch it up a little bit and talk about a really popular guide that popped up this week, which is about Mal'Ganis and main tanking on Mal'Ganis. You were really stoked about this. Matter of fact, I saw you rock this build just a few minutes before the show.
Yeah, that's a good build. This is from Zane Hyde. He is a tank main for Scythe Esports, and he wrote up a guide that we have here in the show notes. You can find it on Reddit today as well, one of the top voted things on there. And it's all about mitigation over regen. And it all makes sense when you start putting it together. So level 1, you go with Wing Guard, and that gives you the 75 physical armor against the next basic attack. What he's saying here is that it doesn't matter if you're fighting Hammer or Hanzo and you really want to be like big money block on your basic attack. It's about the time you are walking into combat, getting hit until you get there, and then you regen that health back, and now you have even less health that you have to regen off of. So by mitigating damage heading in or in combat, you're increasing the effectiveness of your regen, which is already very high. Level 4, Might of Sargeras allows you to have 50 armor instead of 25, and you lose 0.5 on the duration on that. So normally 3 seconds, now 2.5 seconds. A bonus 25 armor decreases the amount of health that you are losing when you're getting into a position to regen the health. And this is where just that simple thought process brings Mal'Ganis all together. And there's a stack here that I just never even thought about. And I remember it was maybe 2-3 shows ago, I was going off on Blood Rush. What a boring level 13 talent, 15% movement speed. Could my life get any worse? This is the worst talent on earth, and I see everybody taking it. Well, when you're playing to keep your health high through armor and mitigation, you're only losing a little bit of health here and there, but you're also healing all the time. So you're going to have 15% movement speed all the time. And at level 7, you do Spreading Plague, which whenever you do your Night Rush, your Fly, your Sleep, you put an aura on yourself for 30 damage. If you auto attack, it continues that 30 damage. So you now have an aura that's doing damage over time around you at all times, which guess what? Is healing you, which is now factoring into your 15% that you always have. And that's how you're staying sticky, how you're managing your own health through mitigation. Carrion Swarm is the level 10 pick. Plague Bat, 16 for the wave clear for the burst damage. Surprise there. But really thinking about that combo of Spreading Plague and Blood Rush as a main tank with a focus on mitigation, that's what allows Mal'Ganis to be a main tank in competitive. And when we play at home, I know I am over-focused on 6 stuns that probably aren't actually that sick because I go too deep for the 3rd swipe and get tower shot. And I lose all my health and can't make it back.
Gotcha. So if words were flying at the screen right now, one of them would be synergy.
Yeah. Yeah, or just avoiding over-investing in what you're already good at on your base kit with talents. And this is a little bit of that Whitemane problem, too. If you get low on Mal'Ganis and you're not in combat, how are you going to regen up? So you got to keep your health high in the first place, and that's done through mitigation.
I dig it. I mean, I've been experiencing, well, a little bit of that through just a single ability on Zul, since I've been playing so much of him with the shield, with your number 1. It's just the whole reason he's allowed to walk into the fights that he does, because I just have this great sense of safety when I smack that number 1. I'm just gonna go walk into whatever it is I feel like. I'm gonna get my bone prison on what I want my bone prison to be on. And we're gonna have a safe engagement. It's such a different way to wrap your brain around the thought of an engage, because there's so many heroes you think about it, and the engage is wrapped around in speed, right? Like you can get where you want to be and make the play you want to play because you're moving quickly. But if you've got mitigation, suddenly it's this more methodical chess-like move where you're just walking in and doing your thing, or maybe ghosting in or batting in if you're if you're Mal'Ganis.
And there are different heroes with different styles of that. Like Arthas, kind of lacking in a version of that, so we all do ghouls to make up for it along the way. But there we're doing that scream while you slam the button regen business like you do on Twin Blades Varian, and you sort of hope you just survive long enough and hope people make bad targeting choices and target the main tank while he's low, but you heal through it. That play style will not service you on Mal'Ganis, or as you said, Zul.
Right. But the cool thing about Mal'Ganis is you get a little bit of both, because if you're increasing your movement speed, you're getting a little bit of your engage based on the speed at which you're moving, but also because of your damage mitigation. Oh, it's very neat. Man, you set me up for so many gnarly kills, dude. It was wonderful.
It's a good time. I want to be playing him as a main tank more. There's a great build in here about basically what you combo together. So here as main tank, we're taking that spreading plague for the damage or around yourself to activate your blood rush. But there is a world where you are going to go blind as a bat, and that's where you do Will of Tichondrius. So combo your 7 with your 13 or your 7 with your 16, and you'll find you're either bruiser or main tank. The bruiser one's there. I can bruise. I can hit that Q all day. I'm ready for it. It was the main tank issue that I was having trouble with. And if I'm having an early pick a tank and I don't know if I'm getting a second one, Mal'Ganis has been just off the table. And I'm really happy to have him back on it.
Rad. Well, I'm happy to have you on Mal'Ganis, because I forgot what it was like to have a solid Mal'Ganis in your pocket. Just the setups, man. It's wonderful. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
So anyways, before we move into strategy, we have a sponsor to thank for today's episode, Kyle. And that means I have to ask you, how often do you think about your socks? Do you think about your socks very often, Kyle?
Not until Bomba socks.
Same. So the last episode where we were thanking Bombas for sponsoring the episode, I had not received my Bombas socks yet, but you had, and you were just going on and on about socks, which is just like, all right, I get it. I've had weird things that I've been particularly passionate about. And now, Kyle, I have received my Bombas socks, and they are so comfy. They're so very, very, very comfy. Also, kind of came at a perfect time. Got a lot of travel coming up. I got to go meet clients and look nice. And I realized I haven't bought dress socks since I got married. We're about to hit our 4-year anniversary on Halloween, Kyle. And, 4-year-old socks, they don't look that great anymore.
No.
They don't look that great anymore. And Bombas has all kinds of different options for the kind of socks that you like or you were in the need of. So I went for the dress socks, and not only did they look great, I'm a sucker for a good nautical stripe, and I got a 3-pack, just really nice looking socks. But yeah, they're damn comfortable. They're really good freaking socks. They've really improved my comfort level in dress shoes. I'm going to go meet clients. I have to look professional. Like I don't just sit in front of a computer sweating all day. And
you go to a wedding, you have to dance.
Yeah, man. What are you doing? You got your feet crammed into nice looking shoes that are probably not that comfortable. So the socks go a long way for that comfort level. And they also kind of like make me feel good about buying socks, which I know is a weird statement, but they apparently socks are one of the most requested items in homeless shelters. And the way Bombas works is that for every pair of socks sold, Bombas donates a pair, which I thought was really rad.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So you should go check them out. They've got all kinds of stuff you should check out. They've got a new line of merino wool socks. It's a special type of sock that's made from soft, warm, and naturally moisture-wicking merino wool. And it's also designed with all of their classic comfort features. They also keep you cool and dry on your morning run. They're just really great. And of course, if you're there, you're like, oh, I'm in, just tell me your code. Of course, they've got a URL for you all. You can buy your Bombas socks at bombas.com/nexus. Today, you get 20% off your first purchase. And if you don't know how it's spelled, it's bombas.com/nexus. And we thank them for their support. Also, just for really comfy socks. I really appreciate them sending those out to me. And for supporting the show. So go to bombas.com/nexus, get 20% off your first purchase. Your feet will thank you. So anyways, dude, we're going to talk about when to give the objective in this week's strategy segment starting right now.
Choose a talent.
Choose a talent.
Talent? That seems generous.
I have a PhD in PvP.
So I was on our patron Discord, Kyle, and Access547 asks, what are some signals to help me decide when a team should give up on an objective? What should the team be doing instead? And I saw this, I'm like, oh, we could throw this in emails, but I was like, no, this is, we could chew on this for a bit. We should throw this in the strategy segment because it's a good question. And one we haven't, we touched on this, multiple times over the course of many episodes, but we never really sat down and had a big, meaty conversation about it. And it's one I find fascinating. I mean, there's some really obvious things like, are you down a talent tier? Sure. Some of the most obvious answers I think are, it's pretty much like there's a Venn diagram between when do we give up on objective and when do we avoid a fight. And in between are, I think, the obvious answers to this. Things like being down a talent tier. Are you down a member of your team and the other team isn't? Are you at a hero deficit? Are you going into a 4v5, a 3v5, a 2v4, etc.? That's probably a time where you don't want to take a fight, unless, of course, you have a notable level lead.
And it gets very nuanced very quickly. But let's just say the obvious ones. Sky Temple, Towers of Doom. You are trading value. And you may have to divide your team in a less than stellar way in order to pull off getting all the objectives. So you ahead say, let's take one. There's 2 temples up on Sky Temple. You have building advantage. You're already winning. There is no reason to give that enemy team a comeback chance by going for both. You all sit on one. Maybe you soak some lanes, get some siege damage in, what. But you just soak it up. It's firing on their keeps. They're firing on your forts. Like, you're winning. No reason to break that up. Towers of Doom, look at the numbers. If you're super ahead, you can just not get in a bad position, be missing one hero even, and just continue to win that game methodically.
Yeah, those are those cases where we talk a lot on the show about sometimes playing correctly is also playing in a boring way.
Yeah.
But I think in Towers and Sky Temple, a lot of times that could actually be a fun way, because if you're together, if you're just trading because you are ahead, what's going to happen when any of the other enemies show up and decide to break off from their team? You're going to get some kills. Like, that's a blast because you're together and you're presenting a united front, and you're probably ahead because in this scenario, if you're just trading temples, you probably have a structure advantage.
Well, and Sky Temple is really fun because of the location of the sight tower and the boss in the bottom. So while the 4 of you may be stacked up on the top, just winning the game, your anchor, your mobility is going and checking on that bottom boss to make sure they're not doing it. You have map control. You can respond, steal their boss before it's over. They're down on damage anyway. So you don't just sit there doing nothing. you're setting up additional ways to win on top of it. You get more ahead, which is something we so rarely get to do in Heroes of the Storm because of all the comeback mechanics. You know, StarCraft, you win, you take a base, you can sometimes just go farm and just make the biggest horde of cruisers you can. This game, that's not the case. A level 20 talent could change everything, and all of a sudden they charge down your core and win. So you got to be careful.
Yeah.
There is a lot of subtlety, and it comes in with the draft and your composition when it comes to things like Cursed Hollow, Garden of Terror, these sort of ones where you can give one and it's not a big deal. The problem there is we've all been in those games where it's a 5-stack too, and these are the worst. You're just like, oh, give. Smart decision, everyone. Give. But then you get to the second go. We didn't get that. We didn't come back at all. We're still in deficit. Give. And then you get to number 3. And you can't give. You can't give anymore. And you accomplish nothing in the time you were giving. And that's where you need to look at your comp. You can look for things like Siegers, like those Valas and Artanises, that are going to allow you to really burn down a fort, and you pick the other lane objectives in the top of your curse. We can give. It's only 2 out of 3, and we're all going to go bottom and take a fort. You can't take that fort? I'd say, with good spirits in mind, it might be worth having at the fight. There are other ways this might go too, and based on the enemy composition. And I call it bumper cars so often, but the Garrosh, the Diva, the Lucio, their team is very frontline heavy, and it's been ganking nonstop. So you're a little behind, and just from lane to lane, this 4 or 5 stack just comes and just grabs your friends and destroys them. So you end up giving the first 2. But their power spikes later on, because they're all sort of these tanky heroes, are so weak. And we can even sit through a full-blown curse. We have the damage late game to take that boss, to take everything back, and we will recover, thanks to our supports talents, from the Garrosh throws at that point. It's going to be a long road, though.
Yeah, and you're talking about pushing. I mean, that's another thing to keep in the back of your mind on when maybe you can't take an objective is merc timings. If the opposing team has timed the mercs very well, and you're going to lose a structure if you do not defend it, it may be worth defending. That's the kind of time. So much too. My God, it's a joke at this point saying it depends. But how coordinated are you? Well, can you group up, move as a unit, burn the incoming mercs very quickly, and still make it and take the fight cool? A lot of cases, you're probably not going to be able to. You know, if you're in a pickup game in Storm League, you're not talking to anybody. These aren't your friends. You're probably not coordinating. So that's another thing to keep in the back of your mind. Is fighting for the objective worth more? Is the uncertainty of fighting for the objective worth more than the certainty of losing that structure? And a lot of times the answer is no. If it's a third, if it's a third curse, yes, okay, it's probably worth it, because if you win it, cool, you swing back. But there's so much to it. Any other battleground specific thoughts though? Like, if we just kind of go down here, like Alterac, is there anything on Alterac you're looking for where you're just like, ooh, no, this is a bad time. This is a bad time to fight for this objective?
Yeah, the tough one there with Alterac is the aura. It's not just a Spider Queen style push. It's that the enemy team is going to be moving faster and dealing more damage during that objective. So it's kind of worth it to hold out and see if you can pull it off. And that's such a messy one. It's a very messy one. It's a lot cleaner when you think of things like Braxis, where you've got Rag. We can't get on the pad because of extract reasons or even maybe skill reasons, but we have big number 1 counter to the Zerg wave, and we're just going to delay, try to get to 10 first. That's very important. We got to get that 10 if we're going to pull this off, but we can wait. And that's where the strategy comes in on some talents or some maps like Infernal Shrines. It's not so much if you're getting the objective there. The real strategy on Infernal Shrines is not taking the objective when it seems like it's the perfect time.
I'm not sure I follow.
So you just killed the entire enemy team, but you're level 13. They're going to res by the time the objective comes up. No problem. They'll even be in their base for it. and your team is at 30 stacks, and Gul'dan is not cool in his buns and really wants to take that objective. If we could stop him, though, we could have every merc on the map. Then when they'd be up already, they're going to go for mercs. They're going to be in odd positions. They may even come here to try to D this, and we clear it out with one fell swoop.
Yeah. This is okay. Now I follow. This is a really interesting concept, which is because I see Access's question, and my thought is, you're in a negative game state. You're behind. But what you're talking is like, how do you really secure that win? How do you get more ahead? When do you intentionally ignore the objective because there's more value to be gained elsewhere? We already talked about Sky Temple, but Sky Temple has that too. And it could be very similar. It's just like, well, they're dead. We could just go destroy a fort or a keep ourselves, and then still on our way back, stop by the temple, get off more shots, and destroy even more structures than we would have otherwise.
Right. That one has an added comfort because you push out the lanes and you take the sight tower. And now to access you in the middle of the map, which is sometimes dangerous, no longer, because they would have to walk or push through all those lanes to get to you. And you get 10 shots off before you even interact with them because you were all, you were smart and you got out there and were proactive about it. Towers of Doom has the same thing. You go take more towers, get more bell shots, you're winning harder. Heck, you might even take them all, and then you're really winning, and the enemy team feels bad.
Yeah, or at the very least, well, cool, you just opened up the bottom for stacking. You can stack the bottom. Yeah. Congratulations, you figured out how to Towers of Doom. Like it's its own hidden objective. The
options beyond Ragnaros, I feel like, have dried up a little bit. Mainly because I think Tychus and Leoric are not exactly rocking it at the moment. I see good ones and I see bad ones. It doesn't really matter there. It's the investment into vehicle damage from behind isn't what it used to be.
No, it isn't. Ragnaros is just it's so obvious. He's so strong in the defense game against so many map objectives. Everything else is more subtle. And that's what we're getting to that. You talked about the bumper cars, but also like you have a chromie. Yeah, maybe you don't need to do the objective, but you know what you can do is you can stall the objective for a very long time. Do you have ranged attacks? Do you have ways to get in? Do you have ways to harass without actually taking a fight? Those are all things to kind of think about. And there's a lot of heroes that can do that, but it's not. That's a different strategy other than drafting Ragnaros and kind of giving yourself that buffer. We always talk about this, like with Sindragosa back in the day, and we're like, oh, you can turn off the Zerg wave, but you don't want to draft to lose. We always say you don't want to draft to lose, but you can also think about it is that you're giving yourself a buffer. Cool, it's great. Yeah, we have Ragnaros. No, we're not drafting to lose. It's just that if we win, awesome, but if we get behind, we have a backup plan.
There is one hero though who is the new Tychus Leo in these sort of vehicle maps.
Oh.
Tychus and Leo have really low siege damage when they get up on those walls for the most part. It's just not going to win the game by itself, and it's not going to win a lane if you were by yourself. I talked 2 weeks ago about the Headhunter Zul'jin that dives the enemy's half and goes looking for those stacks early on Volskaya. Zul'jin can get a lot of stacks on the Triglav Protector. And if and I've seen this, not participating in the objective because he's taken all sorts of bizarre flanks trying to get that Headhunter done. He dies, reses, they have the Triglav. He's nearly done with his stacks just by farming on that robot because no one's thinking about it.
Did you hear me talking about I was dusting off my Sylvanas on the show last week?
Yeah.
I had this exact same realization, and it probably sounds insane to everyone out there who's been playing Sylvanas on the regular, but I had this exact same realization on Sylvanas. If you're going in unfurling shadows, if you're questing for those Shadow Dagger stacks, guess what is like guaranteed to just get you all the stacks you could ever possibly want, and that's a damn Triglav Protector. And also, guess what? You're doing a lot more damage to it now because it definitely has 3 stacks of Banshee's Curse on it.
Yeah.
It's kind of gross. You melt them.
A couple of maps we haven't really talked about much are, Hanamura. There's
Hanamura is that X factor and also kind of the joke, but it's also true, is that who gives a crap about the objective? The real objective is the merc camps.
Right.
And that's still the case. I mean, we talked about it a month ago and no changes have really been made. So yeah, Hanamura, to me, I take the objective when there's nothing else to do. And otherwise, I intentionally avoid it because why? Is the robot up? Cool. That's what we're going to try and take.
Spider Queen does have a little bit of proactive avoidance when ahead. Turning in all your gems to a fully alive and functional team, if they have the lane clear to deal with it, is a bad thing. In that case, it's often much better to go hunting for Kael'thas for an extended period of time with 100 gems on your team, just to make sure you get a couple sweet moments of push without Kael'thas ruining it.
Yeah, that's another interesting kind of unique system, because it's like, well, if you have turn in, it's usually just a good idea to go for it if you can. Right. But there's so often in Spider Queen, if you're behind, where you literally can't. It's not an option. You just can't go and do it.
Right. Or you get turned into an enemy team that's been rocking you and they just knock out those spiders. And
exactly.
You're turned in just for nothing.
That's the tip, I think, for Spider Queen, more than anything else. That's the nuance to Spider Queen, which is actually how not to waste your objective, even if you're winning.
It's so spooky, though, because you got those gems on you and you don't want to lose them all. But if you can get 1 or 2 kills, even it's the throwiest of throw pits, but from behind, sometimes you have to get wild and get in that boss pit. 5v3, enemy team has 3. You're in there, and they can mess with you. They're 2 levels up, but it's worth a go.
Yeah, that's a huge. It depends, right? It's like, are you ahead? If you probably don't need to sweat your gems, losing your gems that much. If you're a level or 2 up, you're pretty safe. Are you even? Well, what cooldowns do they have? What heroics did they take? What playmakers are you afraid of on their team? Are you counting your cooldowns? Okay, maybe you should just hand in, even if they might clear it out. You have to weigh all of these things. We talked about Towers of Doom, talked about Volskaya. Yeah, I think we more or less covered everything. The only other thing I think of, actually, it was like my knee-jerk reaction when I read Access's question. I started getting into my first thought was, boy, it really depends on comp. It really depends on comp. And the top thing I think of for most objectives right now, and it's probably just because I've been playing against so many Ariels and Diablos, but it's comp dependent, and it's what's the wall situation near the objective? Because for most objectives, it's dangerous. Most objectives have a lot of terrain that you have to contend with. You have to keep in the back of your mind. To where the battle itself is something you need to worry about, but so is positioning. So that's another thing I always think of do we take the fight? And it's just like, well, are we comfortably ahead? Because if it's an even fight and they've gone a draft where they can use the terrain to their advantage, that's when I'm hesitant.
Right. You're not even talking about you are on Alterac Pass, your main damage dealer goes out a little far, gets bone rooted into a blizzard, and then the healer didn't hit their heal and they're dead. Like, you're talking about, we're a level down, Cursed Hollow, walking around the corner, Diablo slam, and you're gone.
Yes, that I talked about it. It came up last week. What I call the peninsula. Those semicircular tribute spawn locations on Cursed Hollow. That is a kill box.
Yeah.
If you're playing against one of these heroes, it's something you need to worry about. It's also obviously important for things like blizzards and whatnot. What's one of the earliest tips we give anyone playing Jaina? I don't know. Don't have your circle go over terrain because it's a waste of damage. Make sure all of your blizzard is kind of blocking that zone, that pathing. But that's the first place my brain goes. Stitch's hook, if it comes over one of those walls, or wait, no, it wouldn't. Never mind.
No, you're right. You're right. It goes over terrain.
Oh, yep. Never mind. I am right. Start second guessing myself.
There are abilities in this game where there are multiple facets to it, and there's the whole allied walls and enemy walls and gates, but yes, terrain is safe.
Yeah. There's all these things that I keep in the back of my mind, and that's where, when I'm thinking about how the draft impacts when we fight for objective, terrain is the first thing I think of. I'm scared of it,
I like
Kyle.
that.
I've been killed by too many really good Ariels this week.
That's fair.
Yeah, scary stuff. But thanks for the question, Access, and I hope it was helpful. Tweet at us if you've got any follow-ups or you had any breakthroughs. And shall we wrap this up with a question, Kyle, from our inbox?
Sounds good.
Darkness stopped calling.
Darkness just texted me.
It's not the Mober, it's a hero brawler!
So you can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com or drop a question in the patron Discord, or in this case, you can tweet at us. I saw a tweet from @faux_hipster on Twitter. Said, I remember last week you guys talked about getting more Storm League players into the game. Was wondering if you had any advice for how to deal with ladder anxiety. I'm currently losing 400 plus points in Storm League and am not winning as many back. I went from Silver 4 to Bronze 4.
Ouch.
That is a dive. Yeah, that's a free fall for sure. But not really when you're losing 400 points at a time. That's not that many games.
No, but it does feel bad, and the system still has all its sound effects and red lights flashing at you that make you feel bad about playing and work into that sort of addiction in your brain of, oh my goodness, I have to turn this around today. I can't take a break right now. I'm busy. And you slam those games and continue to fall.
Well, that's if that's exactly what Faux Hipster did, then my first tip would be take a break.
Sure. If you're just talking about like ladder anxiety in general, so much of that is just countered by having a project in mind. What are you working on? What are you attempting to understand? Are you spamming your main Vala every game regardless of draft? That's really hard to do. You should be, of course, leaving the game, entering the game, thinking, what abilities am I most afraid of? Let's pick out 2. Okay, I don't want to be bone prisoned. Keeps coming to mind today. I don't want to be Diablo charged. All right. How did that work for me at the end of the game? How much damage did I take? Was I impactful? Was the front line actually coherent? Could I have maybe ganked around the back? Let's try something else next game. Problem is, when it's your main at the moment, you're not going to see those things because all you know how to do is play correctly. I went on a 13-game losing spree in ranked once after they adjusted Leoric because I knew how to play Leoric one way. And nothing around me made any sense because everything I knew was correct, quote unquote, correct. I'm not saying you're tilted here. It's just that ability to say, man, I've been playing a lot of Stitches in quick match. I think I'm ready for draft. Let's try it out. Loss? Hey, no problem. That was my Stitches. My Vala's back here. She's still golden, you know? She's great. Nothing. Yeah. No pain.
Yeah. I mean, it's not tilt. I mean, you're basically you're describing tunnel vision.
Yeah.
I've done it too. I did that with Sonya. That's how I ended up in silver that one season. I just I know how to Sonya. This works. It's worked forever. It shouldn't stop working now. She wasn't nerfed that much, but it was this combination of a minor nerf to Sonya and also a rather massive meta change. It's actually like right before the dawn of Rexxar for me, and now I'm bouncing between all of these bruiser characters. I've found the times when it's time for me to take Sonya. And it works really well for me, but I'm not slamming her every game. I am more or less slamming Rexxar every game, but it's now contested. I don't have that freedom. I've had to, learn other heroes. So now I have Sonya. I have Malthael. ETC if I really need to get in there and get weird. For me. I realize it's one of the most popular picks in the game right now. But, I would echo everything you said about have a project. When you're getting in and it's more about a goal outside of your rank, whatever it may be. When you focus on the rank, that's when the ladder anxiety sets in. That's when that's when you give yourself over to results-oriented thinking, which is just the demon we are all fighting every day, no matter what game we're playing, if it has a ladder.
Life in general.
Yeah, frankly, yes. Yes, and yet we're not curled up. I'm not curled up in a corner because every month that mortgage payment comes around, right? You just keep going, you keep improving.
Right, and to the detriment of your wallet, you could go online and automate perhaps your mortgage payments, and that may cause you to have sanity. In a truly good world, it would be very good of you to sit down with every bill you receive in real life and write the check and like process it and put it in the sheets and, you know, pay attention to where your money's going. But automation helps. So if you're really struggling, change your portrait out. Go back to hero levels. Don't just sit there staring at that number changing. Alt tab out during your load screen. Go read stuff. Go watch something. Don't stare at the rank in the middle of your screen. When the game ends, switch right over to towns and stats. Don't stare at the numbers go down. And I'm a very audio person. I remember jingles too well. I react very strongly to emotions presented through sound, and it destroys me. And I like to just move away from that as quickly as possible. And you may find that changing that up just makes for a more positive experience for you. And I think we're seeing this too with WoW Classic, right? Item levels are nonsense. And it has fostered a more negative community than someone thinking themselves two spirit or two strength. Like, oh, I mean, what's better? What is better to have two strength or two spirit for me? And giving that some thought and being an individual about it. Knowing what you're after, that legendary weapon. Yeah, rather than another number.
I mean, there's still like the level you need to be to like equip an item. So I don't know if it's like if it's a perfect metaphor, but or a perfect analogy. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. Sorry, I lost my train of thought on this one. I was really trying to
classic at you. Of course you went somewhere else.
Yeah, of course I did. I'm thinking about the war I have started on the poor prices of bruiseweed on Peggle. I currently have about 20 stacks of bruiseweed because I'm so mad at how low people are charging for it.
Oh wow!
I'm trying to single-handedly course correct the bruiseweed market on Peggle.
Sure.
I want to come back to you and just the idea of getting away from results-oriented thinking, because if at the end of the day, this is. What are we really trying to do in this game? We're trying to win, and we're trying to win more often. The way we accomplish that is having our head in the game, thinking about how we ourselves are performing, and also trying to keep tabs on how the enemies are performing, so that when we see a weakness, we can capitalize on top of it. Talked about it last week with Paradox when we were talking about having breakthroughs, and I realized when I threw with Sonya, I didn't even realize last week this is when I went on that losing streak with Sonya, and I ended up in Silver League, and I started looking at the opposing team going, what the hell are you doing with your positioning? Who taught you where to stand? You all are insane. Suddenly I'm like, yeah, I could spear him with Sonya, but I'm not going to kill him that fast. You know who's going to delete them? Kerrigan, because they're standing in the wrong place. Sorry, mini tangent there. But
no. It's a good one. You're recognizing your surroundings. When you and I play together, I don't do Stukov. I do Malfurion, because laying out roots versus low diamonds is amazing and completely destroys an entire team. Whereas being totally sweet and doing my combo on Stukov is just, it's not worth the effort.
Yes.
And it's really late in the game that I pulled that off too.
Exactly what you're talking about. So whatever you have to do to just stop worrying about your rank, you just really have to get your head in the game, and you have to get your seat time in. You have to just keep playing games, because if you're losing, there's somewhere to be improved, and there's usually more than one place to be improved. But a lot of times, recognizing just one particular thing to focus on and improve on is going to help you climb. I've gone through it multiple times. For me, at one point, my focus was on just lane clear, not letting XP go to waste. That helped me climb. One time it was merc timings, that helped me climb, and one time it was capitalizing on the poor positioning of my opponents. Each time was at least a league's worth of climbing, and I focused on one thing, and one thing only.
And that's great advice. And particularly if it's the thing you're losing to, then you learn how to counter it, and your learning staircase is very clearly laid out for you. and you will climb not only to where you previously were with Silver 4, you'll climb beyond it because now you're a better person in those games. But I do, and I know this is a pet project of mine, it has been for a long time, I do think the game can help. I really would love to pressure the devs to change around their sounds and their visuals to be more positive in a losing experience. I think that companion websites are extremely powerful in a modern era. And we don't need item levels in World of Warcraft if maybe even the company provided functional assets for us to observe those things outside of the game. So when we're playing the game, we're playing the game. And when we're researching. Like going to the library and going adventuring. I love that exchange. That's why Darkest Dungeon and XCOM works. You go study, you execute. And having that all in a game where it's constantly flashing at you, you don't deserve X rank, and you're not receiving the full information in a studious environment, just causes tilt. But ultimately, we don't have players, ladder anxiety.
Yeah, I'm with you. On top of the fact that whatever the hell is happening with points is a problem. So yes, I'd like to end this with, you're not crazy, faux hipster. Losing 400 points and not gaining 400 points when you win feels terrible. And I don't know what's going on with it. And I would really like the team to address it.
We could use an update. We had a big change in our matchmaker there when we lost the promotion demotions and went to a more MMR-based system. Let's get an update. Let's hear how it's gone, what sort of things you've noticed, and what we could plan for in the future.
Yeah. That's my selfish, most important concern. Is what the hell's going on with points? Because we so often I feel like the conversation lately has been about matchmaking for Grandmasters, and I'm like, I don't care. There's not that many of them. Who gives a shit about the top 1% of the player base? Here's everyone else, the general populace of your Storm League. They're losing 400 points at a time. Can we maybe talk about this? Because this is affecting a much larger portion of the player base.
Right. The problem is that we're in a streaming world, and visually the gold leaguer with a confusing point value is not at the top of the Twitch views and getting to have that soapbox. And I mean that in a positive way.
The streamers need players to play with.
Yep. To advertise the game. And that's just Heroes was not prepared to enter that world. I am so curious to see what the future of streaming is, or do we even go backwards? Does everyone just kind of retreat to their cave and go, was streaming a mistake? Are we just going to go back to single player now and we all just turn around to go play Cyberpunk?
That's what I feel like with Borderlands, because I look at that game as just this archaic, it's like someone built a new dinosaur fossil. Like I just look at this like, why is anyone, it's just more, but I also don't really care for Borderlands. Like I don't think it's that great of a game personally. So a sequel being just more of the same doesn't excite me. If it was my favorite game ever, a sequel being more of the same would excite me.
Right. Diablo is a great example of that.
Yeah. I mean, we're totally getting off topic now, but it's the end of the show. Bear with us, folks. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's clearly here to stay. And I just, boy, one day you and I will sit down and have a big, fat, meaty discussion about the umbrella of new media.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not new anymore. Maybe we should call it modern media.
Well, I think it all plays into BlizzCon. What are you going to say about new media? What are you going to do about the boredom epidemic? All these things are going to climax, and our conversations, whether acknowledged or not, are going to grow in intensity until they climax at BlizzCon, where we will all be usually very happy. And then the delivery is sometimes not what we expected in our minds. So prepare to ride the ride, everybody, over the next month and a half. And we'll be here with you.
October is typically a cranky month for Blizzard fans.
Yeah.
It's a cranky month. And last year, we didn't really get the reset that we usually do.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the
crank continued.
The crank continued. We got basically 2 years worth of crank to deal with here. So yeah, I would imagine some spirited debates and concerns and threads going up around the community. But I got to say, I think the community's been doing pretty damn well. I mean, there was just a post today saying, hey, keep the Whitemane conversation civil. Had a bunch of upvotes. And I think for the most part, the Whitemane conversation I've been seeing has been civil. The Heroes community, time and time again, impresses me.
I agree.
And I think it's only gotten better this year.
Yeah.
Like you and I, when we're on our off time, a lot of times you and I still kind of, when we're not on the show, we're hanging out, we're talking over voice, we're playing some games. Every now and then I feel like you and I, we get into this position where we just go, man, I still can't believe what the hell happened to HGC and the Heroes team and all of that. And that we're still, we're still here doing Into the Nexus week in and week out with no lack of things to talk about. And it's just kind of incredible. I mean, we've actually gained listeners. We've gained patrons. Like the show is in the best place it's ever been. The game, I think, is in one of the better places that it's ever been. We have, I'm very concerned about what the heck is going on with ranked points, but ranked mode has always been a challenge for this game. So it's nothing really new. It's just a new specific issue. It's always been a challenge. It's been an ongoing project, ranked in this game. But I don't know.
I think any class-based game is always going to have that issues. If you want to take a breath of fresh tilt, go look at the Rainbow Six Siege community and what they're dealing with.
Oh no, are they on the downswing?
They're having a tough time. They got some hit registration problems. There's apparently an issue where if your computer loads faster than the others, you end up on attack. So people with great computers end up playing attack rather than defense for 90% of their games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't realize.
I mean,
this.
there's hackers, cheaters in there, and when they detect it, they remove the rank points you got for winning alongside a cheater. When you lose against them, you get those points back. But nothing's going to feel great. And I think it's all very much compounded in a class-based game like Heroes of the Storm or Rainbow Six Siege can be. Whereas there's definitely, our other MOBAs have metas. You pick a hero, you should pick the right items to be that role, but there's more wiggle room. I mean, imagine doing a dungeon, going into Wailing Caverns, and when you beat it, it's like, ding, all right, well, 10 points off because the hunter tank. By the way, your shaman did some off healing, so, a couple points off there. And your priests, well, they were shadow spec, so, we're going to take a couple points there, and there you go.
Oh, my God, dude. I pet tanked to the end of Armory in Scarlet Monastery yesterday.
Tank DC?
Yeah, tank DC'd right at the end. It was like the last hallway. And so we used traps, polymorph, growl on my pet, whatever the hell the taunt is on the Voidwalker. We had a Voidwalker and a Crocolisk tanking. We couldn't finish it out, though. We got harried to 30%, Kyle. 30%. And then I may have pulled aggro over my pet for half a second too long. And that was the end of it. It was all over. It was just a downhill explosion from there.
To be fair, your priest was probably almost out of mana, or whatever you had.
Yes. The Warlock kept it going for a little bit, and then, mana ran out, and that was the end of that. So, it's a good time. Anyways, dude, that's going to bring us to the end of the episode. Folks, if you want to write in, you always can. itncast@gmail.com. If you're a patron, drop us a message in the Discord. And you can also tweet at us at ITNcast. Speaking of our patrons, we can't thank you enough. If you like the show, folks, if you want to support us, patreon.com/ITN. That is the best way to support us. Every little bit helps. So no matter what you want to give, it helps. It adds up. It really does allow Kyle and myself to make content for a living. This is what we do. We've got some side gigs, but we get to work from home. We get to make content for a living. And we can't thank you enough for allowing us to do that.
Also have that weathered eye on the horizon of Heroes of the Storm to keep you guys updated and invite great guests like we've done in the past with Not Paradox, Jay Howe, and others in the works.
Check it out. Huge thanks to our producers, Declan H, Cheesy Bob, Chris K, and Robert M. You can get Into the Nexus t-shirts over at shirts.amove.tv. Go check them out. I want to see them at BlizzCon. I want to see those Into the Nexus shirts at BlizzCon. You can catch us live Thursdays, typically at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be traveling next week, so we will be actually pre-recording an episode. There will be an episode next week, but it probably will not be live. So don't expect a live show next week. You can follow the show on Twitter at ITNcast. Kyle, where can people find you when you're not on Into the Nexus or being Dad of the Year?
You can find me nowhere for the next week because I am taking care of a very young child who is ridiculously strong. I didn't bring this up, but he was 10 pounds, 4 ounces. First of all, we get to call him our little trucker because we get to call him 10-4 good buddy.
Oh my God. You're horrible. I'm hanging up on you now.
No, that's not horrible because their name is Flynn and I've got Flinner the winner. It really just depends on what they're going to get sick of first. You can't spell Flynn without fly. I'm building them up. Got to get them ready.
All right.
But I will not be on any shows other than Into the Nexus for this next week. There are still videos from the stockpile rolling out over at youtube.com/Kyle Fergusson. You can find all the other shows I do, including Kyle Explains and DM Gives Inspiration over at kyleferguson.com. I will return with Kristen to There Will Be Dungeons in the near future. All that sort of stuff is just on pause while I be a dad. And it's been great.
It's a good reason to go on pause. It's a great reason. Folks should follow you on Twitter at Kyle Fergusson because you are posting just disgustingly adorable photos and videos of
I'm trying to limit it. I've got for my family, we have an account, a Google photo account. I'm doing one a day. I'm controlling myself. Twitter, I'm doing like every other day. I'm not going to flood you.
It's time, Kyle. It's time we had the talk. It's time we had to talk about Instagram and your need for one.
Yeah?
You need one, dude. It's time. You have a child.
Okay.
You have a child and you work out on the regular. Like you are. Like all you need now is a puppy and you're just Instagram gold.
I guess. I just always kind of thought of it as a dating app.
Instagram?
Yeah.
Wow. That is definitely not my read on it ever at all.
Maybe that's like Snapchat. Is that the one that you get?
You're thinking of Snap. I'm pretty sure you're thinking of like Tinder, but sure.
Yeah.
Why not? Tinder is actually that. Yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, for me, Instagram is the portal to pictures of things I like to see.
Okay.
So for me, it's a lot. I get a lot of cool like cocktail recipes off of Instagram. I learned about a lot of cool car modifications from Instagram.
All right. Well, I've got an account. I just never put anything in it. So you know what? For you, today.
It's time.
Yeah, because I've got so many costumes for this little guy. My dad. So his grandpa works at Disney World. And oh my God, I've got more costumes than actual clothes for this dude.
Little mini weak sauce at the end of the podcast for everybody. Yeah, we're gonna sit here and talk about it. So the other cool thing about Instagram, dude, is you can set it up to post to your Twitter, and for each post you get to just checkbox yes or no. I want to also post it to Twitter. So if you're feeling like you really want to post a lot of baby stuff, but you don't want to like annoy your Twitter followers with too many adorable photos of your baby, when it auto posts, it doesn't post a photo. It just posts a link to the Instagram post. So they'll just see what you wrote, and then there'll be a link.
Ah.
So it's kind of like this half step. If you just can't control yourself, but you also don't want to just flood your Twitter feed with babies.
Okay.
You can do that. That's why I so seldomly post puppy photos directly to my Twitter. But you go on you go to my Instagram. There's a lot of pictures of pretty adorable chihuahuas.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'll do it.
Yeah.
For you.
Enjoy. I'm just trying to give you an outlet, man. You have a cute kid. You want to take photos. So that's what if Instagram was if that's not what Instagram's for, then I don't know what Instagram is for. Anyways,
we've
folks,
all grown up.
Yeah. That'll bring us to the end of this episode now that we are clearly not talking about Heroes of the Storm anymore. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. But until then, good luck and have fun, everyone.
Take care.